Assiniboine Lodge. A 7-hour hike got us here, and now we gaze in awe at the imposing presence of Mount Assiniboine. She stole our attentions from the moment she came into view at Assiniboine Pass. We hit the trail at 9:20 that morning, with packs weighing in at about 20 kilograms apiece. More gear than we eventually needed, but you can't always know that in advance. We advanced 3.5 miles in just over an hour and took the first break after crossing the Spray River, where the landscape is dominated by the aptly named Cone Mountain. A bright orange spangled fritillary butterfly took a fancy to Jerry's orange rucksack, whilst the merciless mosquitoes took a fancy to us. We were quickly encouraged to resume the trail. Halfway, and the team remains in exuberant and humorous spirit.
What a fucking place!
The first tantalising glimpses of Mount Assiniboine come into view from the trail at the Bryant Creek cabin, coinciding nicely with the next rest break. It is easier to understand how Marvel Creek got its name, given that it permits such an exhilarating view of the Assiniboine Pyramid. Whilst we rest at the Bryant Creek cabin, the helicopter which serves Assiniboine Lodge passes through overhead. The helicopter is used to supply the lodge and also to ferry in hikers and their gear from the trailhead at Mount Shark. Their short 10-minute journey is a rather stark contrast to the long day hiking in on the trail. Progress so far had been good, but after checking the altimeter, it was a sobering thought to realise that we had not gained much of the overall height to be covered in the day. Half the distance was done, but most of the height was still ahead.
How long did it take you to get to Assiniboine Lodge?
Well, the trekking from the trailhead at Mount Shark to Assiniboine Lodge is a distance of 16 miles. And in terms of vertical height gain, around about 500 metres.
Okay.
So it's a pretty long day on the trail.
Yeah.
It was hot because we were in the middle of a heat wave.
Yeah. What sort of temperatures were you having to endure?
The afternoons on some of the days were getting into the 30s.
Oh, right.
It was probably touching 30 the day we walked in.
Yeah.
But we did have the benefit of the shade of the forest for much of it. But also had the problem of the persecution by the mosquitoes in the forest.
Yes.
Mainly one of the products of a wet spring that they had in Canada this year.
Yeah.
So it wasn't possible really to have any long rest breaks. The mosquitoes just drove you crazy, so you had to keep moving.
Yeah.
The walking took about 7 hours, including the stops.
What size of packs were you carrying?
20 kilograms plus, possibly up to 50 pounds a piece in weight. So they were pretty heavy packs.
Yeah.
It was pretty warm,
Uh-huh.
and it's a long way, so it was a tough day.
Yeah. So in many ways you must have been relieved to reach the lodge then, yeah?
Yeah. Once we got to Assiniboine Pass, and we got that sighting of the mountain.
Yes.
It just kind of gave you a last burst of energy in the legs just to see you through the last couple of miles to the lodge.
Yeah.
But boy were we glad to see the lodge. And we left Mount Shark at 9:20 in the morning.
Yep.
And we arrived probably about 4:15, so it was just about 7 hours.
Yeah.
And boy, were we glad to see that place. And we walked in, and the hospitality was wonderful. They offered us tea and cakes and lemon juice to refresh ourselves, so we took advantage of it. So the first thing to do when we got there was to recuperate.
Of course.
And then there's a telescope on the patio at the lodge.
Yes.
So we soon had our eyes at that, looking at the mountain at close quarters, and trying to assess what the conditions were like on the approaches.
Yes.
Because from where we were at Assiniboine Lodge, it looked like there was still a lot of snow on the approaches. And it also turned out that nobody else had climbed the mountain so far in 2007. So if we were going to get to the summit, we were going to be the first team to climb the summit in 2007. So we had no information about what the approaches were going to be like, but it looked like there was a lot of snow on them. It was warm, so we were certainly concerned about the condition and stability of that snow. We were also concerned about the problem of stonefall on the head wall around the head of Lake Magog. Anyway, Seth Brenner, who's the chap who runs Assiniboine Lodge, he's also a mountain guide. He's climbed Assiniboine 47 times, which is quite an incredible achievement. But he assured us that if we could get to the hind hut, then he was pretty sure that we would get to the summit of the mountain. So I think the task was to make sure that we got to the hind hut. One thing for sure, none of us were very enthusiastic about carrying such big packs any further.
That was your intention originally, wasn't it?
Originally, we didn't know whether we would be able to get into the hind hut or not, so we took tents along to make sure that we had a backup. But once we got to the lodge, we were able to establish that there was nobody else at the hut. There was nobody else going to be going to the hut either. We were the only ones going to have the hut. The hut was well equipped. And so we decided that we didn't need to take all our gear. We didn't need our tents. We didn't need our sleeping bags. So it was still, the temperatures were quite warm. We felt that we could manage just with bivy bags and maybe a couple of extra layers of clothing, but we didn't need the sleeping bags. We didn't need our mattresses because there were 4 mattresses up in the hut that we could use. And we didn't need the cooking equipment because it's all up in the hut. So that meant we could shed quite a considerable amount of weight each. So we decided that we would travel light, and we would see whether we could get to the hind hut, and we felt that if we travelled light, that would give us the best chance to get there. So that's what we did.
So long in the sky, so fast, infinite. Not a wave on the surface, perfect, unsullied by earthly things. So we take our chariots in search of wonder. So gentle fertile, so sweet, lower, sacred. The dew on the petals, precious, pearls of life's first breath. So we take our chariots in search of wisdom. So cold the waters, so deep the mystery, eternal. The mountain inversion, timeless, escapes the confine of space. So we take our chariots in search of answers.